Up in Marietta, WMOA is holding their 35th Christmas Zoo toy drive at the Working Man store in downtown. From now until December 23rd, anyone can donate a plushie or toy to the Christmas Zoo anytime while the Working Man store is open. People can also make cash donations in the window of the store or use a QR code on the front window to make an online donation. All donations will go to local nonprofits in the Mid-Ohio Valley. Program Director of WMOA Radio, Ben Marshall, said each year the MOV is very supportive of the Christmas Zoo.
Sometimes we might be hovering around 800 donations per year, but then sometimes we have a great year where the community really shows out and we get up to as many as 1,600. So, one thing we're very confident about each and every year is that the Marietta area, the Mid-Ohio Valley, is always going to show up and support the WMOA Christmas Zoo.
For more information about the Christmas Zoo, you can go to our online article at WTAP.com.